It's
Hey.
Tuesday. It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. It's our favorite day. It's our
Hey.
favorite day. It's our
Hey.
favorite day. Hey, it's our favorite day. It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. And it's our favorite day here at the Connected Corner. I am your girl, Tori Rose, the Connector, and I'm just so honored to be with you guys tonight. And I always have the amazing honor of hosting with
Kiana. B. I want my
Hey,
little B
girl.
character again.
Oh,
Hey.
I love it. I keep forgetting to wear my bee paraphernalia. I
I
think.
know.
Actually, no, I have on a bee necklace.
Oh, you
So
got,
to
yeah.
all of, yes, to all of the busy bees out there, we want to just say thank you guys for being with us throughout the year, throughout the years. Wow, we're finishing 2021, but we're also finishing yet another year here at the Connected Corner, where you're going to get news and resources that you can actually use. This series has been powerful. We want to just acknowledge all of the men who have been on the show, all of the men who have sent us messages, and women who have acknowledged, like, wow, I never realized the dynamic of schools or the
Yeah.
lack of Black male educators. I mean, we have gotten some amazing feedback from you guys. So we want to just give kudos to you. So some virtual kudos around in a circle, round of an applause to you guys. You rock. If you are not currently subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do not miss the action. Go to youtube.com, type in the search, The Connected Corner. Make sure you hit that button, subscribe, and also ring the bell so you can get notified when we go live. Girl, I'm
Yes.
excited. It's December.
I know, right? It doesn't feel like it.
Doesn't feel like it. So I want to give a couple of shout outs, birthday shout outs tonight to the amazing George Ray, who's a good friend of mine. Hey, George, I hope you have an amazing, 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 amazing birthday, and many wishes to you and your beautiful family. And to my nephew Carter, happy 10th birthday. He's a big boy
Oh,
now. So to my sister from a different mister, Janice, you're doing an amazing job with Carter. So happy birthday. Anybody I miss?
I mean, there's some other people, but no, let me stop.
But no, we ain't miss them. Go ahead and
No,
give a shout out to
well,
our
we have
partner.
actual. Well, I shouldn't say actual family. We have family birthdays this week, and so my bonus daughter, Derica. Hey, DJ. Oh my goodness, what is 26? I guess I don't know if she want me to tell her age, but she's gonna be. And then Jazzy's birthday is this
Hey,
week, and
Jersey.
Sierra's birthday is this week. There's like a birthday every day for the
Hey,
next couple of
sincere,
days.
right? So we want to acknowledge those people. And, we want to take more time and just acknowledge the people who are still living, right? So we've had moments in our show where we've had to, pay homage to those that we've lost. And COVID is tough. And we know that there's a new variant. And we know that a lot of people are grieving during the holiday season. And we get it. We send our love and our light to you all. But we also want to take a moment and acknowledge those of us who are still here and those who are having a birthday. Thank you for just, blessing us with your presence. So, Kiana, let's
Yeah.
say thank you to our partner in crime, Mr.
Mr. Diamond K over at Radio on Fire. I mean, he has Radio on Fire TV. I just see him moving and things popping up, and so he's really expanding the brand and his media and his reach. And so, he's up and down the East Coast. And so we're just really proud of the expansion and things that he is doing.
Yes.
And we appreciate his, support and mentorship and partnership. So thank you, Diamond K. Make sure you guys go over and follow him on Radio on Fire platform. And you can also go back to when we first started and
Mhm.
watch, previous and old shows so you can see how much we've grown.
How much we've grown. And also check out the Diamond K Show on Instagram and do him a favor and hit that follow button. You want to stay connected to the Diamond K Show. He has his shows on weekdays at 8 a.m. and he's so committed. So Guys, not to further belabor your time, we want to jump right into this amazing guest that we have tonight. Get your energy up, get your virtual hands together. Make sure you guys are writing notes. We always tell you that the only way you're going to be able to use the news and resources is if you use them. Like, we can give them to you, but if you don't use them, it's just information. So we want to make sure that you're taking notes and you're applying the things you learned today.
Yes. And so, wow, I know he said we don't have to go all in, but it's so funny. So today we have an amazing guest. I mean, you pretty much can't go anywhere and somebody not know him if they gone to Baltimore City Schools. I was just at an event in November. His name came up. Some young ladies was talking about just how great, he was, just mentorship and how he really set them on the right path. And so we are appreciative to have him here today. Some know him. I said the toughest principal in America. Like, oh my goodness. I'm scared. I'm sure previous students still shaking their boots a little bit, but we know like what he's done just in the field of education of over 30 years. And so founder and CEO of the Wright Public Charter School. And so without further ado, because he's a very humble man, but we're going to go through what he's done in education, but we're going to bring forward to you none other than the real Mr. Clark.
Not Joe DeMarco.
Don't you? No, I'm sorry. Get the chains off the door. No,
not Joe DeMarco. Guys, just put your virtual hands together. Make sure if you're watching this live, if you're watching it on the replay, you hashtag Dr. Marco Clark. Put your virtual hands together. Welcome to the stage, sir. How are you doing tonight?
I'm fantastic. Tired as usual, but thankful. So glad to see you guys, man. Y'all give me energy, and I love what you do each week, and the guests that you're having on. So I'm proud of you.
Oh, well, thank you. We are excited. We want to jump right into this. I mean, this has been a topic near and dear to both of our hearts. Kiana and I, Kiana she's my big cousin. Everybody in the world knows that. And it's interesting because you don't realize how much your younger people are looking up to you, right? And so I got into education because I was surrounded. Most people who know me have heard parts of the story about how Marco Clark saved my life 7th and 8th grade at Calverton Middle. And so they hear these things and then they don't understand, like, how does this person become who they are? Well, then I had a teacher as a cousin, right? So she was teaching, she was an educator. I found myself then career changing and going into education. And you don't realize how many people just think school is a building. They are so disconnected. So tonight we're hoping to really get into the meat and the potatoes. Tell us first a little bit about your formal education. So just run us down. We know you got 17 degrees. Walk us through. Where did you go to high school, college? Tell us about your degrees.
Well, I grew up in Philadelphia. I went to University City High School, and poor public school education in a sense. And when I graduated with a 1.6 grade point average, scored 480 on the SAT. And there was promise in what I did because of the fact that I had some mentors involved. I had some great parents that held me accountable. And so that changed the trajectory for me. And once I got to college, I ran into a great mentor, Dr. Wilson, who changed my trajectory. I was ready to quit, and because of I felt like I wasn't prepared. It seemed like everybody in the room knew everything and I didn't. And so the one thing with him is that I was able to connect with him, and he saw me as the person and who I could become. And what I loved about his work was the fact that he saw education through the lens that the student was seeing it through, and not through the lens that the instructor was seeing it through. And at that moment, I realized that if I ever had a chance to become an educator, that is the way I would model myself, is that I would create a lens that I would educate young people through their eyes and not through mine. And so that's how I got into education. I wanted to be a teacher based on his work. And so I got into teaching. And then I went from being a teacher to a dean, to assistant principal, to a principal. And then I moved on to opening a public charter school and galvanizing people to be around me who are smarter than I am to make sure that this work happens.
Wow. I mean, that's huge. That is huge. 1.6 GPA, 480 SAT score, which we know, and we'll dig into that these numbers really mean nothing when it comes down to measuring the success of a student, right? We
Mhm.
understand those metrics a lot of times are not in the favor of Black and brown children. But I'm gonna ask you, what does it mean for a Black male as yourself to successfully navigate the predominantly white institution that is teaching?
Well, it's a challenge because I'm challenged every day, and I hate to do things on race, but unfortunately, this is where we are, in our society. And one of the things it is hard navigating because you have a stigma on you. You either become as an African American, in a lot of sense, people think of you as a disciplinarian. If you are an educator, you are working with kids who are low academically, behavior problems, come from broken homes, have single parent homes, so many different challenges that they don't see you necessarily as the philosopher, the theorist, the educator that you are. And so you have to break those stereotypes in a lot of areas. And so as I happen to have several master's degrees and a doctorate degree, but I'm still breaking stereotypes every time I walk in a room. From minimizing my title to calling me just by my name, Marco, as and putting me on the same level with everyone in the room, rather than recognizing that the academic level that I've obtained is very important, and the fact that I worked hard to get there. And so I think the stereotypes of getting that done is very hard. As an African American educator and always a teacher, these are things that we constantly fight with and fight about. And so we've been working hard to, it's not just good enough to get people to get in the role of being teachers, but good training, good mentors, and really having a strategic plan. And if you're going to become a teacher, I don't care if you are Black, if you're not good, that's not good enough for us.
Well, drop the mic with that. And I think that's important because a lot of times, having been in the classroom and teaching, one of the things, circle back that you said, seeing the lens from the student. One of the best administrators I taught at Woodlawn for several years, was Mr. Whitaker. And I taught math, and so you have to have your observations and things like that. And so was, he wasn't a math teacher, wasn't a math major, was like, so he would sit in the class, and part of the observation, instead of just writing notes and don't know, he would go through the lessons with the kids. And so your satisfactory or upset was based on the fact whether or not he was able to learn, because he was not somebody, well versed in math. And so I really appreciated that. And because having that, he was literally my first administrator in teaching.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
so it really helped develop me more as an educator. And doing that way, my lessons were better. And so it's like I didn't feel that pressure. You know how teachers get you like, oh God, I gotta get observed, and it's like you trying to put together a super lesson and all this stuff. But if you're doing it regularly, which
Mm.
is, what I learned coming out the door, it just really made me a better educator, as opposed to performing, right? For that one day.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because one of the things that I want to kill the noma of the misnomer of is that this dog and pony show, and because I like to tell it straight, like it is. I hope you guys don't mind, because that's just what I do everywhere I go. The reality is that I look for effective teachers, effective administrators, effective staff members that can work, because we are holding someone's life in our hands when they are 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, that we have the power of making them into change agents or criminals. And the reality is that we spend more time with kids than most of their parents. And so if you are a teacher or educator of a dog and pony show, you're not helping the situation. And as we're looking to have more African American teachers, and typically you have that when you're in urban America, in inner city, you're going to have Black and brown teachers who are working with kids who are black and brown. So it's important for us to bring our A game, because those kids, our kids, need us the most. And you got to be the best at what you do.
Yeah, that is I'm like, it's like that is true. And that's some of the things, like when you're talking about teaching, and we could just go on all day about what happens and what's said, in the classrooms, like you said, whether you this predominantly black school with black teachers or otherwise. It's really guarding like your mind as the educator, and not kind of get sucked into some of the negativity and things like that. Like, you have to take it serious. And I know a lot of times I'm like, y'all realize if we don't do a good job, if we don't do what we're supposed to do, if we're not passionate about what we're doing, who is then going to be the next leaders? And so I just never understood people who get into education and it's lackadaisical. I know people say if you can't do it, then you teach. But no, like, first of all, some people need to go out and do it and then come back and teach, so that they have something, experience, and things like that to actually give to the students. So, we'll get into later like what you're doing. We've volunteered and been to your school and know a lot about what you're doing at Richard Wright, and honestly a model for a lot of the other charter schools, even the public schools that are out here, that need to do that. And so when you're talking about from that perspective and developing, strategies and developing schools, what strategies can be developed by, like, you think school districts and organizations, leadership, to help retain and recruit black teachers, black male teachers in specific? Like, what things can they do to really recruit black male teachers?
Well, I'll say this. First of all, you got to get some black males in leadership who understand what they're doing. And black males will attract black males. And that's something that's not there, and nobody's really talking about that. I don't have an issue with having black males. As a matter of fact, I have about 60% of my staff is black males. They are in the classroom, they are working, they are doing all sorts of things around the building. My engineer is a black male, and so I have them in different places and spaces where kids can see a lot of things going on. It's not enough to have black males as a football coach, basketball coach, and whatever elective teacher. No, I need black males teaching math. I have a black male teaching math. We need a black male teaching social studies, science, and other in music and other areas that they can see themselves in. It's also not good enough to have a black male that only thinks that they can do discipline. Because if that's all you think that you minimize yourself to do, then you're worthless in a sense. And we don't need you in this capacity. We need people who are thinkers, who are builders. Because one of the things, God made all of us to become builders. And I think people have gotten away from that, because the whole antidote to everything is around service, and it's around being builders. And if you're not a builder, then you're a person that tears down. And so when we look for black males, we need them to be very serious and understand that this is a lifelong journey for everybody. There's trust that's involved with this. That is the big equalizer, and the fact that you're holding others' lives. And black males were meant to be leaders by nature and by birth. And so therefore it is important for us to make sure that that happens. So how can we get these black males? We got to get more black males in leadership to attract more black males. We have to also get black males who are focused on a right strategic plan. And the second thing is that we must trust our institutions of higher learning, our HBCUs, and really build relationships with those departments so that we can start to find a black male teacher that will graduate in 4 years. So I don't need you when you're a senior in college. I need you when you're a freshman so I can start talking to you. So K-12 systems need to start grooming these individuals when they are 19 years old, 20 years old, and talking to them about becoming educators and mentoring them. So when they graduate, they can come right into the institution and hit the ground running because they've had mentorship and connection.
Listen, you are just, my goodness, there's so much wealth in what you're saying. For anyone who's just tuning in, we're with Dr. Marco Clark. Please make sure you guys are following, and I'm gonna keep saying it that way, Dr. Marco Clark on all of Dr. Marco Clark's platforms. Follow him on Facebook, on Instagram. Make sure you are also following the Connected Corner on YouTube and on Facebook. We also have an Instagram page. So if you're just checking in, drop your comments. If you have questions, we want to hear from you. And so, Dr. Clark, that was a lot and it was necessary. So thank you for that perspective. And so much of what you've said has been reiterated throughout this series. So this was a 6-week series. You're week 7. You're the finale, right? We saved the best for last, even though everybody was equally good. I got to say that before I lose some friends. But we've heard from previous guests. We've heard from even some of our coworkers and our peers in education. My first placement in a school was in a Baltimore County school where, and I'm a history, my first degree is in history and government. So I was qualified to teach that. Only Black woman, only Black person in the department, and not a lot of Black guys in the building, right? So we've heard that Black male teachers are leaving the classroom because they don't feel like their voice is centered, that they don't feel like their opinions are honored. They don't feel valued. They don't feel like they have the leeway to speak up. Have you ever experienced those feelings? And if so, how have you maneuvered through it? And what advice can you give maybe a Black male teacher who's tuning in saying, look, this is my last year, I'm done?
Well, fortunately, my mission was greater than the challenges that came in between that. And so I never looked at it from that perspective as a defeatist attitude. I always had the attitude that I will do this, I'll conquer this, I'm going to make this happen. I mean, some people just have to figure out the sauce, and the good sauce to everything is understanding the kids. When you understand the kids and you connect with the kids, then you understand that your mission is greater than any challenge you have before. Bums will come and go. And so when I say bums, I'm talking about people you may work for. They'll come and go, but the kids remain constant. And whatever remains constant is where you should spend your energy trying to make a solid change. And so for me, I never worried about things that I didn't like. Of course, throughout my career, I've had moments of feeling like I should just walk away from that person, but never the kids, because I was invested in the kids. And so whenever I felt like an administrator or someone I was working for didn't meet the mark, my kids were always the ones that I stood for. And so that was my driving force. And that's what we look for right now as we are trying to get educators. We want people who are committed to kids, not to the adults or anything. But if you're committed to kids, that means you'll go back to school and you'll get an extra degree. If you're committed to kids, you will go to these trainings and developments. If you're committed to kids, you will go to their homes, you'll reach out to their parents because of the kids. The hell with the administrators you work for. The reality is that what is your mission? And so every teacher should have a mission that's bigger than themselves and bigger than the source that they work for. And that source should be guiding you. The heartbeat should be the children. And if the heartbeat is the children, nothing else matters.
It's just, honestly, we've had, like we said, this is part 7, of this episode. And so some of, kind of doing this and, like Tori said, we don't want to lose guests or friends or people. But honestly, I think that as we have gone through the series, it has kind of like continued. And this is kind of like that comics are bringing together all of it, right? From part 1 all the way up to now to 7. And of course, we like the number 7. And so just even kind of looking at that and completing something, all of what you're saying, it just wraps up everything. I think Post is going to wrap it up in a gift and a nice little bow tonight and bring it together for everybody, because we've heard so many of the different things. Where does the breakdown happen? Where does the burnout happen? You mentioned about teachers male teachers thinking like you are more than a disciplinarian. And so that was what we got a lot of times where they were saying why some Black males didn't want to go into educate. They don't want to show up and just, like you said, be the coach or be the disciplinarian, right? And so when you're looking at that, do you feel like Black male teachers, we know that they can do more than that, but then also kind of looking at that burnout rate, like I know you don't just put them in those positions, but like how do you see that affecting the teachers, and then also like that going over into the students, because it's important for them to be able to see them as somebody is tough and disciplinary, but also that cares. And so how, what type of trainings or what type of development in those male teachers so they can also show that caring side, like you don't have to be tough all the time.
So let me tell you, I'm hard on everybody because I just believe in winning. Like I'm hard on the children, I'm hard on the parents, I'm hard on the teachers. And listen, because the winning attitude says that there is a 360 circumference that you have to take care of, right? And so when I look at Black male educators, I'm harder on you because we have a responsibility that's deeper than anybody can imagine. I'm hard on you the way you dress, the way you talk, the way you look, the way you act, because every time we walk in, we're already 2 steps behind. And so you got to walk in understanding that you need to get to the front of the line every time. There's no lagging behind because there's a line. And so, I can, and I also push them because you can't come in slacking. You got to come in ready because we understand exactly what we're up against, and we should understand it better than anyone else because every door we walk in, people look at you differently. And the reality is that you have to make sure that you are saying to everyone when you walk in that I belong here. And so that matters the way you dress. It's not about being trendy, it's about being professional. And so it's also Black men have challenges because they don't want to have mentors. Somebody has to lead you to the water and show you exactly why you should drink it. Not necessarily stick your head in it, but show you why you should drink the water so that you can continue to have your nourishment so that you can move forward. This whole reality of that is that we do need good Black male teachers. We need great Black female teachers. And at the end of the day, we need great teachers because our kids depend on it. Their lives depend on it. This is a state of emergency that nobody understands. And so at the end of the day, I'm getting towards the end of my career. What's going to happen? I'm concerned, what's going to happen because what's going to happen? It's not enough Dr. Clarks. It's not enough other people who have the same energy and the thought behind it. But we got to light some fire. And so I'm glad about the connector because on your show, don't lay down for these Black males. Light some fire under their behinds because we need them to stay in the game and stay strong.
Most certainly, and thank you. And we appreciate your time. We often explain to people that time is one of those rare and precious commodities you never get back. And so the fact that not only are you committing time to children across this country and educators and being a mentor, we appreciate your time. What I most appreciate, and is something you said earlier about making the difference in a child's life, right? And I always tell people, if you don't believe that you stand at that fork in the road with them, I'm an example of that.
Mhm.
I could have been anywhere doing anything or anyone had I not had you personally in my life. And I don't believe that there's a lesson that you taught me that I don't remember. I mean, I was 15 quoting, "Excuses are monuments of nothingness. They build bridges to nowhere. Those who use these tools of incompetence seldom become anything but nothing at all." And not understanding that you were laying a blueprint for me to not only get off my high horse, because a lot of times our students believe everything is happening to them and nothing is happening for them, and all of these excuses that we have, but you were teaching me lessons in accountability. That was 13, 14, 15.
I'm
But
so
then
proud you remember that. Oh my God, I can't even believe it. I'm about to go in tears in a minute. Wow.
listen, not a lesson, even times where I may have misstepped when you were at the Maritime Academy. and you spoke to Miss Spellman, your Delta friend, and said, I need you to put her in a classroom and she's going to come up here and help you grade papers. She's going to do something. I wasn't even thinking about being an educator at the time. But one thing Miss Spellman said was to me, something you said to her, which was always be prepared. I said to her, I said, you're not stressed out? She said, why would I be stressed? Because I'm prepared. She said, when you are prepared, you have no stress. These lessons shape a young person. Those words, those are in the formative years of a young person. And so it's not for us to cry because we're G's, but I want to thank you and give you your roses publicly. But I also want anyone who's listening to understand that it doesn't take this monumental move on Instagram and Facebook, right, to touch a young person and to put them on a trajectory where they can also be impactful to touch other people's lives. So thank you. I will forever just honor you and love you for what you've done for me. In that, though, I've had other experiences where I didn't have a Black person in leadership, right? I didn't have a Black principal, a Black superintendent. Help us put some light in to how having Black leadership, having a Black principal, a Black counselor, Black administrators, how does that really make a difference for Black male educators and for Black students? And I know you've touched on some of it, but it's life and death. Expound a little more on that for us.
Well, it is very important for you to have models of what you can become. It's kind of hard to walk in a place. I mean, you think about clothing. That's the reason they have models, so that folks can look at someone and say, wow, I can look like that. I can be like that individual. When you have none, it's kind of hard to set your path to destiny, because there is no one else that has, you know, created a path for you. And so that is so important that, I mean, let's just face it, Black males need Black males. Black females need Black females. We need that pathway, you know, and it's not just Black, but white kids need white females and white males, so that they can see exactly who they can become. And Hispanics, we all need someone that we can relate to, and then we understand how the mission should go. The disparity is when you put things in place that does not support the community that you serve, and it just grows wider. And in a lot of instances, that's what has happened. That's what we see in this city. That there's so many disparities because there's not enough individuals that people can relate to and see why I should be this way. Let me tell you, when I first started teaching, I had a supervising teacher. His name was Walter Elder. And Walter Elder said to me, you look young, and you're going to have some people who are close to your age. When you walk in, this is what I need you to wear: a white shirt, a dark tie, and dark pants every single day. When I was young, I wanted style. I wanted to be able to be myself. I wanted to finesse a little bit. And his response was, I need you to do this every single day. I looked at Walter Elder, and he was dressed impeccably every single day. He set the tone for a teacher. And so once I got into the process of doing student teaching, I recognized why I needed to be dressed appropriately every single day. That led into my entire career, which is why I wear shirt and tie and suit every single day, because it sets the tone. And guess what? Other young people saw me and they would say, he's important because he wears a shirt and tie every single day. When you set a trajectory like that and you have models of success, others will follow subliminally and they don't even realize it. And that's the reason why we have to create tones like that with people who are committed to making change positively, because we understand exactly what the road ahead looks like. Today, I walked into the Pentagon, and when I walked in, I didn't see anybody that looked like me. But I felt comfortable. And I felt comfortable because my pathway there, I recognized that I was knowledgeable and that I belonged in the place. And since I felt that way, that I belonged there, it didn't matter if anybody else looked like me. And that's exactly what we're training our young people to do. When you walk in the room, Be the example and make everybody else wonder whether or not they are appropriate, because when they see you, you be the light that shines above everything else, and you recognize that there is no reason to feel less or to shrink yourself because you belong there.
I'm sorry, give me 1 second. I gotta finish writing that. Look, I was like, wait a minute, I gotta come in, but hold up. I need to get
Listen, while Kiana's writing her notes, we want to remind you guys to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We want to make sure that you are not missing anything. Even if you're just jumping in and you're like, what are they talking about? You can always go back and catch this on the replay. And we even challenge you all to hit share and send this out to your Facebook friends, your Instagram and YouTube followers, because there is some rich nuggets being shared tonight and we don't want anyone to miss it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know sometimes, people say, and we say that like we're paying attention. I won't even show y'all how I write how my brain functions. So I won't embarrass myself and show y'all my pad, but I'll make sense of it and decode it later. But yet when you think about that, just the richness, like Corey said, of the information, but that is so important. Because as a mom, as an educator, as a teacher, walking into the classroom and deciding to go teach, I didn't do anything different than what I did with my own children, and instilling in the ones that, I birthed, or the bonus ones that I have. I had quite a few bonus children. But it's that same passion, like you said, knowing why you're going in, knowing that you belong. And that is something so important. And so in order for our children to be comfortable and know they belong, we got to instill those things in them, right? We have to let them know that it's important, to put good in. And so a lot of times with young people, like I laugh, you use the word finesse. I think they still say that. Do they still say finesse? But using certain language, listening to certain songs, doing certain things, I get it. You like trap music a little bit, right? But you have to even kill. So if you're going to listen to the trap music, then I need you to read this about investing. If you're going to listen to that, then I need you to read this book about self-development. And when you see that happen, then you have a well-balanced young person. And so no matter what room they walk in and no matter what they're comfortable, right? They can code switch at any time. Because you have given them all those different tools that they need. And so that is so important. The second point I want to say about the dressing, the best day for me in high school is game day. I love to see my athletes, my young men coming in their suits and tie. Most of our schools across, the country, you got to wear your suit and tie on game day. And I just love it. And I would they like, oh, Ms. Johnson, come on, let me take your picture. I love it. And so when you pump them up and let them know that that's comfortable and it looks good and, you should do this, they get more and more comfortable with it. At first it's like, oh, I got to wear this. But then when you start making them feel good about it,
that's right,
they feel comfortable, And so when we talk about these different educational issues and talking about those things, how essential are these things in the community? Like, what do you think these issues, are they common across the country that you see in your community? What are some of those issues that you see right there at Richard Wright, right in, the DMV, this Washington, D.C. area, the community? How do you see them happening across the country? And I think it goes back to that life and death. I think, you can expound on it, but if we had a life and death with our young people, I think this is something happening across the country, and our kids here in the community need to know it's not just them. So can you, expound on that for us?
I think there are challenges all over the country, and I've been around the country speaking and working with different groups of people, and the reality is that people are still struggling with the fact of how to make people comfortable, how to push them and make them feel good about being successful, right? And so there's a easy method to understanding that I could light Pop Smoke at the same time and love Charles Aznavour at the same time. There shouldn't be the balance should be exactly the same. I shouldn't change who I am because I like Pop Smoke and the fact that I do like Charles Aznavour. The individual shouldn't change. The reality is that we should pump them up to motivate them. That Kwanzaa Kunjufu wrote a book years ago called "To Be Popular, to Be Smart." The reality is that we want to make sure that we let people know that it's that it's popular to be smart because everything else comes behind that. When you are smart, the reality is that you have longevity in every decision that you make. When you are smart, you make proper decisions that will afford you the ability to feel good about being okay. That lets you walk into a room and change the whole scenery of the room by being professional. And so we have to promote that the same way we promote the antics that go along with trap music. You should promote this the same positivity that should be able to fit in the room that goes with Charles Aznavour. And I know I said Charles Aznavour. People may not even know who that is, but the reality is that he is he has a background Italian by nature, but his music is of like an opera background, and so an inner city kid should know both and feel great about sharing both and listening to both and being around his friends or her friends and being able to share the music and feel comfortable about who they are.
Most certainly. And we've seen so many challenges and the decline in our young people's mental health, their emotional and social health, especially during the pandemic. We know that you were just on the Roland Martin Unfiltered show. So we want to give you a hand clap for that. That was huge. And anybody who missed that, you guys can still check out the show. You can find it online. You address the learning gaps after, and everybody's saying after the pandemic, but I feel like we're still very much in the pandemic, and this post-pandemic time will become the normal soon, right? Can you
Mhm.
share a little bit about your perspective? Like, how do we bridge those learning gaps? And then how do we also support the social emotional declination that's happened in our students? Because, I got a seventh grader in here,
Yeah.
and had his foundation been any weaker, he wouldn't be who he is today in school, right? But the challenges that he faces, even in the seventh grade with his peers, is huge. So just share a little bit about the show, what your talking points were, and how can we address those gaps that the pandemic put in place for
Well,
the.
first of all, I just want to say, you brought up Roland Martin, so thank you for the shout out. But I'm on the connector. I'm not thinking about. I'm on the connector show. So, hey, I feel the same way. I've been on several shows, but I'm on the connector tonight, and that is what's important to me. You guys got things going. Period. Okay, so let's go there. I appreciate Roland. Good, great guy, good friend. But I'm on the connector, so this is a popular show. You guys have things going on, and this pandemic, let's just face it, our kids are behind. They were already behind. The gap has gotten larger. Nobody wants to say that, but it's the truth. The reality is that we've gone from kids being 3 to 5 grade levels behind to a whole decade now. It's going to take over 20 years to fix this whole scenario academically, if we ever get a chance to do it, if people actually tell the truth about what's happening, and if we really put our money where our mouth is about supporting, not just in dollars, because dollars don't fix anything. Historically, we know that African American people they have second rate schools, second rate books. And so, but our kids, our parents, our grandparents, they learned more. They were smarter. They learned reading and writing. That's because somebody cared about them and they spent more time. So the reality is that let's not fake. Our kids are going to be even further behind with this pandemic. We're also dealing with a slackness in their behavior and not wanting to go to school. Kids didn't want to go to school before, but we gave them a reason now where not to go to school. So we've enhanced that, and so our kids didn't want socialization, so they started using Snapchat and all of that. And then now the pandemic, we gave them even more so a reason why to uh, desocialize themselves from everyone else. So we have the learning gaps, we have the socialization, we have the emotional challenges, we have the parents who are out of touch and the parents who don't want to be parents but are parents. We have the fact that there are no directions because some parents never had goals for themselves. So how can they articulate it for others? We are in a challenge situation, and the Black community is in trouble. All right. We are in trouble. There is no way to say anything deeper than that. And the fact is, so how do we get out of that? One, we start telling the truth about it. Two, we stop listening to these uh, colorized sermons on Sunday just to get an emotional high. We start addressing situations with politicians appropriately and not doing it from an emotional perspective, but from a strategic perspective. We also stop thinking about what's in it for me and start thinking about what's in it for all. When we get to that perspective, that's when we're going to see change. I'm telling you guys, and you heard it first tonight, that we are more than a decade beyond fixing our schools. And the longer we go on, the harder it will be. Because here's the challenge: the kids who are now 15 years old, 10 years from now, they'll be 25. Check this out. They'll have children. They'll have children who are already in middle school, some of them. The cycle will continue. How do you stop the cycle? That is the challenge. And that's what we are up against right now, is that how do you cut it off at the root? And that's going to be the biggest thing that ever happens. Our community is in trouble right now, and everyone needs to operate with that state of emergency, because there is no antidote right now besides meeting folks with truth and a plan of how to move people forward. But where there's no discipline, the people will perish. And that's what we are working with right now.
Woo! Like the comment said. Like I mean, honestly, Tori and I had these things sometimes. Even today, it was funny. I was talking to my director, and I was telling her the truth. I almost called Tori back and was like, I had a transparent moment. But I got goosebumps after, because it's like, whoo, but it was needed to be said, because some of what you are talking about, just in that way of, the politics and how far we're behind and what's happening, and like people just don't get it. They aren't tapped in, tuned in, or anything. And so one of the things that I wanted to go back and talk about, like you said, the emotional and the sensationalist. So I'm going to shout out my amazing pastors, Karen and Linwood Bethea at Set the Captives Free, because it is not just about emotion. And she'll say sometimes, Sundays, we have Sundays where it's just about mental health. And they've done this series, I think it's part 10 or 11 or something now, on the systems. Mm-hmm. And so some people, it's funny that you say that, because they're all sometimes irritated on Sunday when it's not just about, woo, we going we're going to do that, right? Because we got to bring them in. But when I say learning, and why? Because she was an educator. She was an educator. And when I say, like, it's important to know the word, but I'm learning how to live. I'm learning the importance of being in my community. I'm learning the importance of, educating, whether I'm in or out the classroom. And so, I know she mentors some of the other pastors and, things around the city, but like, you need to be doing that on Sunday. Like you said, tell the truth, because just having people feel good and like, God forgive you, or whatever, like, we need beyond that right now. And I'm so glad that, she listens, right? She hears and she's listening and she's giving us that information, right? Because she don't want people to perish. And it's not a game there. Like, we need to know how to live. We need to understand the systems. I sent my son this message, and it was talking about chess. Now, mind you, he played chess. My oldest, he played chess, in elementary through high school. He was on the chess team. And he was like, well, I don't get it. Well, it was just basically about knowing the rules. And so somebody who's playing a chess game, they're using those rules to dominate and destroy you, right? Because they're understanding the rules and they're just using those rules to play the game. And so what I'm saying to him is, the rule for you is, you're an artist, right? You decided to go with the creativity and pursue that. Well, you understood when we talked about that, all my kids being creative, you're going to work 3 times as hard, because you can't just walk into those things. You can't just, go get a good fellow job and sit down and get paid. You got to work even harder. And so part of understanding that gaming, if you got to wait tables, if you got to do Uber, if you got to do DoorDash, whatever it is that you got to do to pursue that dream on that goal, because they're going to put that in you, then that's what you got to do. And so playing the game is, you can't get irritated at the job because you don't want to be there. So what? You need that to put into your music, to put into your art, to put into your business. And so, it looks different depending on what your position is, right, in the game, but the rules remain the same, right? And so I think understanding that, and we definitely are. I mean, you were talking, I'm like, whoo, we got a lot of work to do. And it sounds scary, it does, but I think each person doing their part, mentoring the young people around you, starting in your family, like doing all of these different things is so very important. And we really just got to wake up. And I know sometimes, people, like Tori said, they think, it's serious topics, but it's needed. And so I appreciate, the homage of what we're doing here, because, it would be better. We're, young ladies, we're entrepreneurs that sit on here and talk about makeup and talk about the best fashion and do those things or whatever. But this is also our part of getting that information out there. And so who is for, and those who want to hear it, you're going to listen to it. And it's going to help somebody. It's going to save somebody's life. It's going to make somebody think, about where they are and what they're doing.
Yeah,
And
when you said it's scary, it's not scary. It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare.
Yeah, it is, to think about it. And it's something you've been saying for years. If you have been in education at any point, this is something I was saying in 2006. Right. And so I left and came back 10 years later to nothing changed. And so in adults, speaking to our adults, like you said, putting the fire on our men and our women, please stop demonizing these young people and talking about this. Because, I mean, if I leave education for 10 years and come back and it's still looking the same, is that the children? Because the last time I checked, the children are not in charge in the building. The children are not in charge in their home. And so, I won't get them because I'm going to get a little, passionate about it. But it's the most irritating thing for me to be around adults, to be in a school, to be in somebody's house or anywhere. And you're talking about these young people. What bill they pay and what are they running? And so I just get stuck there sometimes, because it's like you're blaming the child when you're in charge. And you're in control and you had a responsibility, and you're not taking accountability for not being the best teacher and the best parent that you could be.
Most certainly. I want to just jump in and remind everybody to follow us at The Connected Corner. Go to Instagram, go to YouTube, go to Facebook. Make sure you are following us. Make sure you are following our amazing guest, Dr. Marco Clark. I also just want to acknowledge, and I don't think that I get enough time to do this. So even acknowledging Kiana, because there will be times, as again, Black woman who's oftentimes smaller than my students, teaching history and preparing them for the HSA and different standardized assessments, knowing that this history is flawed, knowing that the history and the lessons that they get are often from Instagram or Snapchat or the internet, which is diluted and not a representation of what really happened. I would call Kiana because while I had almost 15 years of federal government experience, so classroom management wasn't a thing for me, right? I've always been your baby, so I knew how to reel them in. But the delivering the lesson and making sure the comprehension was there and making sure they weren't just getting it to check a box and say that they did the exit ticket and all was well, but that they really retained it. I had someone right in my family that I could call and say, hey, how would you deliver this? Or what could I do instructionally differently so that I can make sure that it's not lost on them? How can I put them at the center of this lesson? And what Kiana was talking about earlier was, we all like trap music, like Cardi and 21 are my favorite two people. Cool. And being a history teacher at the time when Cardi and 21 both were, facing extreme charges, from the United States government was huge for me, because then I got to make it real for them. And so, Kiana, I want to acknowledge you in that and your ability to take a lesson and to really be strategic in the delivery of it. So any educator or anybody thinking about going into education, don't say, well, I don't have anything to share. Everybody has something they can teach someone else. And what I'm hearing tonight is figure out the thing that you can pass on and pass it on. If it is in a formal educational environment, if it's a mentorship, if it's a, adopted surrogate parent relationship, pass that on, because this nightmare is going to go from a Freddy Krueger to Freddy meets Jason meets. If we don't take the helm and regain that control and really care enough to invest in someone younger. So thank you both. I'm just giving out roses tonight. These are free roses. Giving out roses to say that, here I am now. And I don't often talk about my master's degree as I'm pursuing it. I wanted to just wait until I was graduated, but it's an educational leadership with a focus on public policy. Because from my experience of running for office, I saw some things and I saw exactly what you said. Our people are perishing from a lack of discipline and our people are perishing from a lack of knowledge. And those together means that we don't even integrate or interact with the politicians, with the lawmakers. There's an intersection and we're just skipping over. We catch an Uber when we should be in the driving seat. So I just thank you both, and I'm done. I know we have time for Keith's questions. I get excited for the Keith's question part. So Keith, pull us into the next segment.
Yeah. So Marco, we have a special segment, and it is Keith's key questions. And people, I was like, "What? Wait a minute, I'm not ready," but it's good. It's fun, right? And you're an intelligent man. You're quick on your feet. So the object is it's kind of like a rapid fire. I have 3 questions I'll ask you, and I have my handy dandy timer here. I still been saying that because Dora the Explorer was my daughter's favorite show. She learned how to speak Spanish watching that. But anyway, so I'll have my handy dandy timer here, and you'll have 2 minutes. It's a 2-minute timer. We're not going to cheat you out. It's 2 minutes. Say 2 minutes there. Once I read the first question, then the timer will start. So I'll read the first question. I'll read it twice, and then from there you'll have 2 minutes to answer all 3. And audience, we want to hear from you too. And so we'll drop the questions also in the comments, and so you can answer too, and we'll share your answers and so forth. So you have 2 minutes to answer 3 questions, and you're going to do a great job. All right. So the first question is, what is one thing about the work you do that puts a smile on your face every time? So what is one thing about the work you do that puts a smile on your face every time? And
when I see children and I see what happens with them when they graduate and move forward, the smiles.
Absolutely. And the second one, that was good. What is one piece of advice you would give your 20-year-old self?
To stay focused and to continue to push that trajectory forward earlier, understand what direction you would like to go in and get to it faster.
That's good. And number 3, what's something people seem to misunderstand about you?
Some people think I'm mean, but I'm just straightforward. And some folks think I'm arrogant when I'm just confident. Some folks think that it's all about me when it's all about them.
Wow. I think you beat like almost every contestant we had. You just like half you did it in a minute, all 3. And
yes, you did.
Right. We're gonna send you your gift card in the mail.
I was gonna say that you win a gift. Would you like to give a shout out to your brothers, or what do you guys call each other? Your fraternity brothers at Omega Psi Phi. Would you like to do that?
Look, you see my wall, don't you? I can't go anywhere without shouting out the brothers of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. I also got to shout out Richard Wright Public Charter Schools, because that is my group, just awesome. And then shout out to all of I have on my Parent Nation shirt. So I love, and we don't call our PTA, we call it Parent Nation, because we're building a nation of parents who are focused on doing positive things. So shout out to Parent Nation. And that's, you heard it first. So anybody steals my name, call themselves something different in their PTA, we got a Parent Nation. I got a nation of parents who are concerned and serious about getting work done for their children.
I love that.
I love it. We like themes.
Yeah,
we love themes.
Yeah, I love that. I also too, just really quickly as we're ending the time, and we'll have you share how people can follow you, get in touch with you. But one thing, and I know you might not be able to say, I'm putting you on the spot, the Richard Wright Public Charter School, and we've talked to other people who are like, oh, I want to start my own school, and things like that. And we know it's work to put into it. We have a couple other mentors and people as well who have started different charter schools and different schools as well. But what is the future, knowing like we have this nightmare, and I visually pictured Freddie and all of that, because my mother was a horror movie buff. So, everything came into mind, all the Dead movies. It was like, ooh, that was very scary looking. But what are, as far as moving forward to develop more Richard Wright Public Charter Schools in our community?
Well, so people say that I get a lot of people that call me and ask me about giving them advice on it. I don't talk to anybody who's not serious. Because if you're in it for the money, then I don't want to talk to you. If you're not in it for the children and the families and the community, then I don't want to talk to you. The future is that I believe in building one premier school at a time. And so you build from that building block. I've seen too many people get one school and then open others before the first school became premier. And that was very important to me to make that happen, is that you have premier in your mind when you open up, because again, you're holding the lives and aspirations of young people. And if you don't want it to be good enough for your child to go there, and that's the only way it's going to be premier, is that you feel like it's premier, because if it's good enough for your child, then it should be good for enough for everyone else. And so that's what I base everything on. And so I don't mind helping anybody. Let's be very clear, though, I still need a check. And so I will say that aloud, because time is valuable. And when you give up good information, be prepared. That also designates and shows whether or not you're serious when you are willing to invest in something that you want.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Listen, guys, I mean, we're talking about a man, an amazing person who just embodies manhood, scholarship, perseverance, and uplifting. We have been talking to Dr. Marco Clark. This has been an amazing time spent with you, just learning. Like Kiana said, my notes are just all over the place. Please share, how can anybody who wants to get connected to you, who is serious about their stuff, how can they find you and how can they get connected?
They can reach out to me. They can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at Dr. Marco Clark. And they can reach out to me at 202-500-1416. That's how they can connect directly to me. And we can make sure that we move forward. I do have some folks in place to kind of handle some things for me, but I will always get back to those who are very serious about doing the work and the belief that I have around making communities better.
Awesome. And can you drop the I think we wanted to put in there, so we make sure we got your phone number, we have the information, we'll put that in the chat. But the name of the book that you talked about, again, To Be Popular, To Be Smart, the author, so we can make sure we drop that in the chat for people as well.
I sure will. Is Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu. And since we're talking about books, I can't forget my own. Parents, Where Are You? The Kids Are Out of Control. It's a book that has been selling since I wrote it a couple years ago. And so it's a blueprint for parents. It's a blueprint for the community. And how do we change what's happening so that we can shrink that decade and bring it down so that we can really start working on closing the gaps.
Awesome. Look, guys, I'm Tori Rose. Please find me on Instagram at Tori Rose the Connector. You can also find me on Facebook and Twitter. Anything positive is me. Anything negative, I don't know who that is. Kiana, where can we find you?
You can find me on all social media platforms at Kiana B. Jones. And then you can find us at the Connector Corner on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. So if you're not watching on YouTube right now, you're watching on Facebook and one of our Facebook groups, make sure you go over to YouTube, type in the Connector Corner. It's spelled phonetically, no K's, no C's, just the Connector Corner. And make sure you hit the bell so you're notified when we go live. And we just are excited. We have now wrapped up just like the finale of The Educated Black Man. And so if you missed any part, this is a 7-part series. If you missed any part, you can go back and you can watch it on a replay. All the rest of the summer, y'all off for Christmas break and New Year and holiday and all this stuff. You got some time off. Hey, start your new year, get fed, get some information, and go back and watch, all 7 parts of this series. And you can watch them over and over again and just get a wealth of knowledge, because we bring you news and resources you can
actually use. Say, this is the Connected Corner. Thank you guys. Have an amazing and safe holiday season. We love you. We appreciate you. And we'll see you soon. Peace.
Happy holiday. Peace.
Happy holiday.